So what exactly was the problem? We had that, and we wanted to solve that. So in the very beginning, from the very beginning, you jump into the VS Code. Very different environment what we learned before. We're working with Developer Studio. Now you just give us VS Code, and we don't have so much, instructions how to run it, how to manage it, how to work with a builder. I mean, it's very hard. So basically, I don't know, like we burned like I'd say 3 or even more days. I don't know. And when you don't have that much time, it's very important to understand that that kind of burn time, it just makes your project overall not that going well. Of course, dependency hell, like someone runs on another computer, doesn't runs on mine. We all know that golden phrase, right? Who haven't said that? I mean, just raise your hand. Who haven't said that? I mean, it's interesting that that kind of situation, it just stops you a lot. We don't even understand how much time we just lose. And of course, low knowledge of those tools we are being given. So as I mentioned, we were like training, working in Developer Studio for almost like month and above. And then they just give you, here you go, you have a VS Code, figure it out, you know? So yeah, low knowledge also moves you backward. And why the manual setup fails? So again, it's steps prone to human errors. It doesn't have specific documentation, and documentation is very important. I'm not telling that person cannot be a documentation, right? Like I worked with White Stars before, and they have good notes. But the main documentation was Tom himself. Every day he had, to give us all the knowledge. And of course, as I mentioned before, lack of experience and knowledge of those tools. So we have to figure it out, how to solve that. Of course, decision was made. We have to create an environment for our students so they can work without even bothering themselves. What kind of extensions, tools, plugins I'm using and how to run them? Because that was the real problem for us. And a huge stop. So our goal was to create an environment where students just can click and it's built up. As few clicks as possible, right? Who doesn't love that? I mean, and what do we get with dev containers? What are those? So it's a defined environment where you can exactly write down what kind of operating system you want, tools, extensions, libraries, runtimes. It's pre-configured with tools, right? As I mentioned. But those tools are being pre-configured. You don't need to even go to the settings and to do something there so it would run on your computer. It's already done for you. I mean, it's really amazing. Consistency and reproducibility. How many times during academy we had so many problems, and I just walked to my colleague and I asked, okay, what's the problem? He shows me. There's a problem. I see that there's an error, and I tried to do it on my own computer. I was like, there's no problem at all. What are you talking about? Then there's conflict starts, like, no, it's you're the problem. No, you're the problem, all the time. Okay. Question I asked before. So I was in that part of where I thought that dev containers are basically same as containers. And the colleague of mine, the senior the senior colleague of mine, who has a lot more knowledge of Docker, and he just told me, like, everyone's doing that mistake, and it's definitely different. Containers are not dev containers. I mean, he said, like, dev containers are containers overall, right? But not all containers are dev containers. Interesting, isn't it? So the purpose, so containers run application in a consistent environment, while dev container sets up a full development environment for the developer to work in. Configuration, container is configured with a Docker file, while devcontainer uses devcontainer.json file. And usage, so again, typically is used for deploying apps, while devcontainers used in development to write and test code inside VS Code, but not only VS Code. We can use dev containers in different environments as well. But VS Code will be the main topic because it's pretty much integrated with dev containers very well. So that was our decision. And of course, as I said, like, they just put you into VS Code first during the studies. Okay, so how does it work? Technical flow. So we can see that it's pretty much simple. You do need to create a folder named .devcontainer. Then there should be a devcontainer.json file inside it. Of course, you see there's more folders and there's multiple dev containers, right? Why is that? So that's the case. You can use only one dev container, or either you can create multiple of them. That's what we did, because why would I need to create a catastrophic environment for our students where they know exactly that they're working on front end? Why would they need to see workspace full with extensions which are basically used for our backend environment and see the code? Maybe they will change something on not on their own, but just accidentally. It happens. So as well, we have to install beforehand. We have to install a dev container extension and remote SSI, so the VS Code could work normally and find the dev containers. So again, moving forward, like, we just wanted to know it better, to learn how dev containers work. So it was very interesting for us to try and test 2 different dev containers and build them up just to see how those correlate between each other. And let's move on and look inside dev container JSON file. So probably those who are sitting behind cannot see, so I'll try just to explain. So the first part is where we name our dev container. So whatever name you give it, I mean, it's relevant. You have to know what kind of environment you're working in, right? We give it a path to Docker Compose file. Then we can decide what kind of services we're running. So in that case, we're choosing app backend, right? Application backend. So our dev container, when it starts, it knows exactly which one service to run. It doesn't run everything what's inside our Docker Compose file. It just starts with backend application. Another part is more specifically about workspace folder and what our students will see. So it's kind of, we can change it, but usually it's written down the same as in Docker Compose configuration file. Then there's very important command. And there's pretty much more of them. Like for those who sit behind, it says post create command or post start command, right? So the name itself tells everything about it. And I just put down a few commands of what we're using. So there are much more. What exactly those commands do? So imagine you want to create, you just want to build an environment, and after it's being built, right? You start your container, and after the container is started, you want it to run some commands for you. So that's exactly what it does. In that case, I'm creating a folder for its temp files folder for our ProBro extension to work properly. Next, it's very interesting part, and that's, I could tell that it's specifically made for VS Code. So it's customization, and that small naming, it says it all, VS Code, right? So what can we do here is we can ask our dev container to pre-install all the needed extensions for our work. Then we can create a configurations. We can just, long before we just write down all the settings we want our extensions to have. And it's very important as well. That's the time, right? It's demo time. Okay. Let's get out of here for a little bit. Okay, don't be scared about the Windows XP wallpaper on my screen. That doesn't mean that I'm a very huge Microsoft fan, just for fun. Okay. Okay, where is that? What's showing me? Oh yeah, sorry, just. Great. Yep, so yeah, that's what I was talking about. Okay, let's just start from the very, very beginning. Hopefully it will run, hopefully it will build. I pray the gods of IT, right? So, but I have backup videos. I came here prepared, so you will get your demo, guys. Okay, so first of all, of course, yes. Nope. It's not working. Yeah, but it's. Yeah. But it's, Oh, I know why. Yes, I know why. I'm just used to work with keyboard, Not using my keyboard of laptop so often. So you have to press extra buttons. Okay. So what did we lose? So there was a prompt, which probably you didn't see. It says, do you want to reopen a container? But we can do it manually. Do you want me to zoom in more? Yeah. Probably those who are sitting in back as well, right? Okay, yeah, so. Okay, let's just. Is it good enough? Yeah. A lot better, good. Okay, so I'll try to, go through it. So, again, this is Devcontainer, the backend one. So already I told you what we're doing here. Bunch of settings, something being set up. Here we setting up the runtime, choosing one. Yes, some configurations. Here's another dev container we have. Oh, forgot to delete the comments. Isn't beautiful as should be, but it happens. Okay, so it's front-end development container. It's completely, I could say, the same. It doesn't have something different. It's pretty much simple. That's exactly what I want to tell you, that it's not hard to create a dev container, but behind it, there is a little bit more, of course. We have to have our Progress Docker image right. We have to know how to run it. We have to preset up our Docker Compose configuration file, Docker file as well for containers. So there's pretty much more work to do. And yeah, here you can see that there's completely different extensions. Because why would I need something for Progress if I just run front-end environment, right? Okay, so let's give it a try and run front-end first. Here are the logs. So it's being started. It tells actually everything what it does. And here we go. It started. Wow. I didn't expect that. No, I'm kidding. I expected that. I've tested it before. Okay, so since it's still being it's still running, so I cannot open the web page so far, but we can move on to and create our backend development environment. And you'll ask me, oh, so there's a new window, right? Why you cannot like just turn it on so easily, and you have to go to your command prompts and enter the VS Code project again? Trust me, it's better than figuring out how to run a plugin, an extension for several days. It's better. It takes only like, what, a few seconds? Okay, yeah, here you go. You can see it. It's reopening container. I wasn't lying. Let me just zoom it in as well. Okay, okay, should work. Okay, great. Let's run our backend. The part we all came here for. Again, we have our logs. What it does, it tells us what's being done, what ports are being used. So I've pre-built it so it would run, smoothly without waiting, without a long wait. So now we have it, and we can just give it a try. What exactly it gives us. So here in the very top of the project, we can see that it's Devcontainer backend dev environment. It tells the name we chosen. And we can start just working right away. I mean, isn't that easy, right? We just can jump into the code without even hesitating, like, should I install something else? No, we already have a bunch of stuff here, which is already working. Oh, what's that? Who made it? It's bad formatting, right? We can use our OpenEdge ABL formatter for that. Probably I made a simple mistake somewhere. Never mind. it's still, it's okay to show you as well a little bit of that part that we're still working on that extension. And by working, I mean every day. There's like a lot of people doing that. And we need help from you guys just to find those issues and write it down to our GitHub. So yeah, it works pretty much good. You can set up however you want. Like if you like to put the dot, in the new line, here you go. You have a setting for that. You want to put it in the same line as well. You're free to do so. Okay, let's not stop here and move on forward. So, other extensions we have. For ProBro. In other words, simply data digger inside your VS Code. There you go. Okay. We get something. Yeah, there's some. There's actually should be a user. I remember I created it. Few. Let's go to the front end part and see if I was right that we can manage those two dev containers work between each other, right? Okay. What you will see here is our this year Group Students Academy project, what they made. Of course, it will take some time to load. Couldn't be in a different way. I'll just create a user, so to show you guys that it works. Okay. Oh, great. Just wanted to move on and show you different types of tools we can use there, which are pre-installed. Okay, let's get back here. Here we go. We have one record added. It's working. And we can do a bunch of different type of stuff here as well. We can create custom. We can actually choose from tables which ones are our favorites and have it just in this part. As well, there's possibility to create custom table views. So if you're working in very huge table, let's say, where there's a lot of different records, but you're working specifically with some records, so you can just create your own custom view for that. Another tool, which is really great as well and was helpful. We didn't have that one, so as I remember, we had to go back to Developer Studio and to manage, working in different type of environments. It was really hell. And here we go. We can just, with one click, we can run our unit tests. Isn't that easy? Isn't that good? Even for students, especially for students, they don't have that much time to figure it out how those kind of tools works, but they get it just in one click, one simple click. Okay, a few clicks, but still, you get the point, right? Okay, so yeah, it's being run. It will take a little bit of time to be run. Is it error? Of course, it was working yesterday. I just tried it. It was all the tests passed. Now there's an error. Of course, how could it be different, right? Okay, so yeah, That's the project, it's wallet, but let's not stop here. Let's move back to our slides. Just let me, okay, why is it that? Good God. Okay, so yes, there were like few more tools I haven't shown you what they're doing, but let's just move on forward. So I'll just skip those backup videos because everything went well. Yeah, let's just move on. And what do we have here? It's actually, I won't lie. When I was told, like, just like try to dig in and figure out how it works, show people that we can, move everything remotely to the cloud. I was amazed, and I was like, I just put myself in that kind of mood that I'm going to make it. I'm going to show people, everyone, how it's cool to move your stuff online. Like I don't need to. That's the point. GitPod, right? You don't need to have your project locally. You just can have it in your repository. You don't need to download it. You can go from anywhere. Just imagine when who can tell me when the best thoughts comes into programmer's head? In the shower. Not exactly the answer I wanted to hear. who takes phones in the shower? Okay, so okay, let's switch it a little bit. So imagine, I mean, personally, it was from my experience. Maybe you didn't have that kind of situations, but I had them kind of several times. So it was like I just got up in the morning, like it was like 3, 4 in the morning, and just get up. It was like I was thinking like, oh, okay, the task number 73, let's say, right? And I was like, oh, could it be the solution for it? Do you go to your computer right away and just open the laptop? Of course not. You're just laying there like, okay, I cannot sleep now. I have to do something, right? But all of us, we do have phones, right? So you can just try turning on your environment and just go through your phone. Of course, who does that? I mean, there's place in hell for those kind of people, I guess. But I would probably use it if I had that kind of situation. I mean, if I was again in that kind of situation, and it happens sometimes, but it happens. So the downsides are that you need internet connection, of course. Top-shelf hardware is not crucial, and switching to backup takes, device takes minutes. So integrations, it's fully integrated with GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket, and much more. Starting up dev environment at the click of button. It doesn't lie. It says true. There's actually one click and it starts. But what exactly I want to tell you? So I was very excited to try this tool, but it looks like it's just too weak. It couldn't handle Progress OpenEdge, and it couldn't run my project. Of course, I could try, to come here and try to tell you that, oh, it's a very beautiful tool. Look, there's like, a project which is being run. Here we go. Let's show it. But I probably would lie, and I'd love to say that it couldn't run my project. I don't know if it would run yours. So I can show you the interface of it if you want. It's a short demo. Another demo? Are you ready, guys? Sure. Let's go. Okay, let's go. Okay, so let's head here. So, okay, I'm sorry, it's not GitPod anymore. They're rebranding. Why everyone's rebranding? Okay, so what do we have here? So basically, we're connecting to our GitLab. Okay, I have my repository back in my GitLab private repository. Here are a bunch of settings. Here you can write down your environment variables, your secrets, just a repository clone. Here's environment classes. I'm not sure why it didn't run that, like, because it doesn't tells you completely what was wrong. That was the problem. So I was trying to figure it out, and it was probably the out of memory error. That's what could happen. So, okay, so basically you just click create an environment. I'm sorry, I'll just zoom it in, right? And yes, and that's the best part about it. Nope, not this one. It says stopped. Everything working differently. Whenever you have a presentation, everything starts working completely different, you know? That's very funny, actually. Yeah.
We have saying like it worked on my machine. No way.
Yeah, it worked on my machine. On the same one, I'm showing you the presentation right now. Yeah, so, okay, we can see that it's being started, right? The main point, right? Remote virtual machine. Yeah, good. It's cloning repository, loading our secrets, loading.
Has modern computing moved beyond the finite state machine?
Sorry, can you?
Has modern computing moved beyond the finite state machine?
Mm,
When things don't work the way they should because something, the machine is not finite anymore.
yeah, I mean, it's. I'm just trying, to figure out how to answer the question because it's just how it happens. I mean,
I'm sorry, that's the computer science in me coming
Yeah,
out.
that's a philosophical question, but I think you have to remember that instances come up, and as they're setting, some stuff doesn't run in the exact order that you
yeah,
would
yeah,
like
yeah,
it, and so even though there are dependencies,
yeah.
so you always have to take that.
Yeah. So it will run into an error. It will just crash. The workspace here is being loaded, so it's same as VS Code. We get logs here as well, but so far what I've learned from them, it's not something useful for me. So the only possible problem is out of memory leak. Yeah. And since it couldn't run this project as well, I just repeat myself. I don't know if it would run yours. So, I mean, you can try it, but be careful. And of course, first of all, you have to get familiar with VS Code itself, right? Okay, so as I said, after this part, it will just crash. So let's head back. It was a short demo, so let's head back here and see what's happening.
I guess for me, the more practical thing is what for the people who started on the Progress ABL
Yeah.
or IDE side, what was the turnaround time for being efficient? I guess that's really what the managers and stuff would be interested in, right?
Yeah, I mean, uh, what was it like a question? How fast you can get to working, right? So as I mentioned, like in our case, we have Students Academy, and they just go through intensive part of learning stuff and a lot of stuff getting into head, and they just constantly being moved to VS Code. And the problem there was that they have to figure, like we had to figure out by ourselves how to start and move and do stuff. But even after learning, like we did manage somehow. We did manage, but still, it wasn't that important for us at that moment. And exactly, development container can save you a lot of time. Like if you're newcomer, like if you're a new developer, probably everyone would like you to understand completely what you're doing, and that's the most important part, right? But when you have, I don't know, like experience like 20, I mean 10, even 5 years, I mean several years, would you like to do that kind of stuff like all again and again and again and again? You go to another project, you move to another project, you create something again, and you just like start setuping stuff. You forget something maybe, but I mean, it's really important to know that it can help you to save time a lot. Just let me. Oh yeah. Okay, so the process, of course, as I said, so it's very efficient onboarding. You can use it efficiently. It's perfect sandbox, but again, I just don't want to tell you, that it's really good tool because it didn't work for me. So be careful. Again, give it a try. Of course, give it a try, but be careful. And the process, it might get pricey. So again, with the free version, you won't get that much, compatibility, and it could be even the reason. Maybe they want me, to buy the more tokens and to be able to run with, better computers, but machinery. And let's move on to the part which was actually very important for me because I was the one who was working on development containers and creation of them. So it was very important to hear from our students. Like they were the ones who were tested, right? So I just created like several questions. It was like up to 7, but I just pointed out the few most important ones. So I just asked them, how easy was it to launch and connect to the dev container for the first time? I didn't see anyone answering like it's completely was easy. Why? Maybe because our instructions and our documentation was done verbally. Yeah, we just told them and showed them on the road how to do that. Rate the impact of dev containers on your personal productivity. So again, they felt that they could manage to do much more if they wouldn't have that kind of setup for them. And of course, rate how well the dev container provided all the necessary tools and dependencies for the project. So again, the answers were pretty much good. So in the end, all of those questions and the feedback showed us that we're going to proceed using dev containers. We're going to move forward. We're going to try to keep up with that technology, with that tool, and see how effectively it can, let us go forward with our Progress Academy. And let's say conclusions. So development containers save plenty of time. The project you saw, if I show you my academy project, you probably see a lot of differences as well. Again, because of the same burn time. So is it built? Less instructions needed. What I mentioned, right? The question, was it easy to run? We didn't give them, prepared documentation or instructions. It was pretty much easy. It was enough to show them once or twice, and they were able to manage it by themselves very easily. So efficiency has increased. It did. Again, if we talk about the project, we saw the changes. Like it completely was different story. I was amazed how good and how they could create such a thing with as less as time as possible. It was like, I don't know, like not 7, 10 days for the project to figure out. Minimize environment-related issues. So I was staying in the office near them. I was walking across all the time, from time to time, just to ask them, like, is everything going all right? Guys, do you have a problem? Is there any problems you need help with? So they were okay. They was like, oh, everything's fine. We're doing it. It's like, oh, that's cool. I can go and work on my project then, You don't need my help. And of course, development and debugging becomes more reliable when we have the same environment and we can test it out. Like if there's a problem, as I mentioned before, someone had problem, it wasn't a problem, an error for me. Here, different story. So, any more questions from you guys?